Hi, guys. My name is Amina K. Thornton, and you are listening to the Message of Hope Struggle to Success series on the One Up podcast. You can see these live recordings also by going to amina.media in your web browser. Again, that's amina.media in your web browser. Today, we have Asmar Gary on, and we're having a little bit of technical difficulties on the video, we apologize for that, but we will get a full audio recording of him. He's going to tell us about how he went from selling drugs to selling software. And I'm so interested on, how did he even get started in selling drugs and what brought him to that point? Asmar, can you hear me?
Yes, I got you.
Okay.
Thank you, Amina. Thank you for having me on. And that's a good question. Good place to start. What got me into drugs?
Yeah. I don't think it's a career choice, really.
Right. So we all remember the DARE program, right?
Oh, yeah, the DARE program. Yes, the DARE program in school. Uh-huh.
Yes, the DARE program. So I just like to say that the DARE program didn't necessarily work for me.
Okay. So that's when, do you remember them coming into your school and having the talks? Okay.
Absolutely. So, they used to have sheriffs come into our school and talk to us. And this was junior high school. So from elementary to junior high school, we've always had the talks about drugs and what to stay away from.
Yeah.
And funny enough, the community that I grew up in, my peers, they did the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm sure, in every neighborhood, there's a hood, there's a place that to go and buy drugs, right?
Well, I think if you grow up in, I came from a small town. I grew up pretty much in a small town. So yeah, I think it was more prevalent. And plus, I think also, I know I never got into drugs, but I knew kids that did, because I think they were using it more as like a social thing. Because in a small town, you don't have a place to go. There is no like fun land or anything, right? So I think it's harder to stay out of that kind of atmosphere.
Okay. All right. So like I was saying, like you knew someone that knew someone that you knew you can get pot from, or that was a dealer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, in my neighborhood, that was it. Is we had a group of us that were dealers, and then there were some that were users. And I say, fortunately for me, I wasn't a user. My experience with drugs was always as a seller.
Okay.
Because I was a hustler. Like I was a little businessman as a kid. So when I turned 13, 14 years old and I seen the older kids, the 16, 17, 18-year-olds in my neighborhood that sold drugs, that was something that appealed to me because I was always about making a quick buck. So when I got into it, it starts off small, kind of like the gateway when you first start smoking pot and then you get into some harder stuff, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with selling drugs. I started off selling pot and then I was selling crack.
I say.
So it escalated into a lifestyle for me. Instead of just being around and selling pot to my friends, now I'm basically building a business around selling cocaine, right?
Yeah. Well, you were a businessman.
I was a businessman, and that's how I looked at it.
Well,
and that's how I looked at it then.
If that was the thing that you had available that you knew that people wanted, there was a supply and demand, and you recognize that. So it's hard to get out of that. I can understand if you didn't have any other opportunity that you could see to be a businessman in a different way. So
and those are the things that now that I look back on and I see what I can do for my community, and I know that I can do for the youth that I see myself in, is really show them the opportunity of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because back then, that was all. I didn't even really use the word entrepreneur. I was maybe 15, 16 years old when I got into that game, got into that lifestyle. And I didn't really understand entrepreneurship. I didn't understand really building a business. Um, what kind of like the Gary Vaynerchuk
Yeah,
phrase,
Gary V.
hustle. It's all about the hustle,
Yeah.
right? So I was the Gary V. I was a hustler. So from yard sales and different things like that, mowing lawns, I came from that background into the drug game.
Okay.
And, you know, I've had a lot of rough roads getting into it. I've been robbed. um, I've been in different altercations with other rivals and people that, you know, just weren't affiliates. They weren't friends.
Yeah. Is it
So of
because I
course,
guess that you weren't surrounded with those type of influences at that time?
exactly. At that time, there's really a lot of negative influences. It was, everything that you see in the streets, it was carrying guns. It was, having stash houses, being places that I knew wasn't safe and wasn't the best place for me to be.
Yeah.
But of course, living that lifestyle, you start looking at things like that as normal. Then I went to prison the first time when I was 18,
Okay.
right? So
You just
that
turned like legal age to go to prison.
got my first legal age. So all before then, I was just skirting by as a juvenile, getting in little trouble here and there, picked up and released. But then I turned 18 and it caught up to me, right? So all
Yeah.
the stuff that I was doing prior, it caught up to me at 18. And I sat down for 9 months. I did 9 months and I had that opportunity to reflect, right? On
Yeah.
I'm 18, what am I going to do? How is my life going to change from this point on?
Well, it's good that you
And
were asking yourself that question already. You were thinking about changing.
you know what? Unfortunately, I wasn't ready for change. I was
Yeah.
looking to get a degree in business management to try to figure out how I can build a business and be an entrepreneur. Because I already knew at that time, like when I got out of high school, I knew that I didn't want to work for anyone. I
Yeah.
didn't want to work a 9 to 5. My family background, my family work history, majority women that went into the nursing field. So I didn't have a big influence, a male influence on, going into maybe the car industry or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, because you were just like, well, what's my other options here? I can like kind of be a male nurse maybe, but I'm not really
Right. And
strong
we
for
all seen how that went. We seen how that went with Meet the Fockers, right?
that. That's cute. Yeah.
So at that time when I came out, it was maybe another 6 months before I went back to prison for the same thing.
Okay, six
Because
months.
I thought about it. I said, you know what? I started taking community college classes and I was working, a part-time job that I didn't like. And I got back into the same lifestyle. I figured that I can make some quick money instead of working this job that I hated. I can go back and make some quick money while I was still going and taking my community college classes.
Yeah.
And ended up getting caught up in some trouble that was much worse than the first time
Yeah, because this is your
because,
second
again,
offense. All right.
yes, second offense, but not only that, like I said before, when you go into that lifestyle, it's not just the drugs. It is now, in order to protect yourself, I was carrying weapons.
Okay. Yeah, because you had to protect yourself, and I guess there's some kind of territory, right? Is that how it
Well,
works?
again, yes, there is territory. There's rivals. There's people that they'll see you and they'll know that you're making a certain amount of money or certain type of money,
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
you
true.
become a target.
That's true. Yeah, because they want that income. Because I guess if in that mindset, it's all about money at the end of the day. It's not
Absolutely.
about well-being. It's not about like community, really. It's about just what you want at that time to get to wherever you're going, whatever that might be.
Right. And you see a
Yeah,
lot of people that are really out for self.
yeah,
And, at that point, you have to watch your back. You have to make sure that you are protected. And again, in that field, in that area, you want to make sure that if it comes down to you or them, it's not you.
yeah.
Right.
Hard because you just turned 18 still. You're still 18 at this point, right? Are you
What? Well, I mean, again, I'm in my 18 to 23, so
you're
all of
still
this
young
took place
adult?
between 18 and 23.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
so yeah, you're still trying to figure out the world and, running a business that you're fully immersed in, so you don't know anything but this business at this point. So you went into prison again, and then how did that affect you? Were you sentenced?
So yes, I was actually sentenced to state prison time this time, to where
Okay.
I did 2 years. Right. So after turning 18 and going in for nearly a year, I was 19 now, getting ready to do 2 years, missing the big 21st birthday that everyone looks forward to.
I missed
So many.
that. I was an entrepreneur at 19. I totally was just like, all right, how am I going to pay for my bills? So I totally like was not thinking about drinking and partying. Yeah.
There you go. And that's the thing, is even those things, like even opportunities like that of figuring out your life.
Yeah.
As I was trying to figure it out, I was dealing with, being incarcerated, you
Yeah.
know,
You
having to
got
go
a
through a
temporary
system.
time out, right?
Right, right. And this goes, and this is why I love the message of hope, because it goes towards my current story and the way that it turned out. But again, at that point, I was sitting down to do 2 years, 19 years old, and I had family that they were starting to distance themselves because it was a second offense. Like you said, it was, the first time it's a mistake, the second time it's you didn't learn your mistake, so it's more so on you.
Yeah.
So when you go through that time where you start to see your family, really distance themselves and say, Asmar, you're on your own this time. We helped you out through the first time, and we took it as you were going through growing pains and learning mistakes. But now, it's kind of deliberate. It's kind of like these are your choices.
Yeah.
And that's, I think there emotionally where I was in prison for 2 years and didn't really have the family connections that I was used to. A lot of friends disappeared, and it really it turned me cold in a hard way, in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at that point, at 19, I was really, really just like, how would I put it? Kind of guarded and had a wall up against the world and connections and relationships. So when I finally came out this time at 21 years old, um, I was looking to change my life around again.
So when
Uh,
when you came out, were you still feeling that way? Were you still
I
feeling
was,
like
I was,
okay, like you were alone and you feel like anybody was really there and
yes,
still looking for that
yes,
outside connection, I imagine.
yes. So again, from 19 to 21, where I was having these emotional feelings, about family, about relationships, things like that. I came out this time, the second time, more negativity, with more negativity, and it didn't end well.
Yeah.
So at that time, again, I'm 21, and I still have a chip on my shoulder and feel kind of invincible. Not invincible in the form that
Good
I
way,
keep,
right?
but just
Yeah.
invincible as I'm still young. I still have my whole life ahead of me, and
Well,
you
now
know,
you probably feel like, well, nobody cares, and I don't care about nobody else. That sounds like what your mindset was in
a
at that.
100%, 100%. I mean, you got it right.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like at that point, my mom, she's a wonderful woman and 100% supportive of everything that I do now. But at that point, we were just on edge. We didn't see eye to eye, and I just felt like, again, alone. And whatever I do, nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
So I continued with that same mentality for another year and a half. and and I think, what was this, 2009. So this is around this time. It's 2009. I'm just turning 23 years old. So I managed to stay out of trouble for about a year and a half
Oh,
after.
good. So what were you
Really.
doing then? What kind of career change did you make?
So at that time, I was actually getting into hospitality.
Okay,
So I was
cool.
going into restaurants,
So you
and
kind of still liked people. You just didn't like the fact that I
right,
guess you felt
right. So,
abandoned in a way, you know?
but what I liked about hospitality, what I didn't understand before, was it was a form of quick money, because as servers and bartenders, you get paid daily cash.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting pattern. Yeah.
Right.
Wouldn't think
So,
of that.
as it was different from selling drugs, I was still used to getting paid cash daily.
Yeah.
Right. So I got fond of the bar, and I became a bartender, went to the bartending school, got a quote unquote bartender license, and I loved, loved, loved that career path.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was still about making more money. I seen that opportunity there with bartending, but I didn't see it as sufficient. Didn't know where I would take it.
Yeah. There's
And
no real advancement, is there?
right, there's not a lot of advancement in hospitality.
Yeah.
So while I was bartending, I was still dabbling in selling drugs. I was
Okay.
still, at the bars, I would still talk to, there's people that come to the bar and they're like, hey, where's the cocaine? Where's the weed at?
Yeah.
And
I imagine, especially when, I
I,
guess you're
I
in that state of mind.
unfortunately still had those connections,
Okay. Yeah.
which made it
You didn't cut ties yet.
really easily accessible to me in order for me to pick up the same patterns.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I did that again. And at the time, my girlfriend at the time, she was pregnant.
Okay.
And I ended up getting arrested and ended up having to do another 2.5 years in state prison.
So you didn't actually get to welcome your child into the world or
No, so
anything.
I missed the birth of my son, and that is the catalyst there, which really changed my whole outlook of why I do things. Because before, when I came back into the world, came back into society, I was for self again. I was focused on how can I do things for me and, gain not necessarily wealth, because I wasn't even focused on wealth. I was just focused on surviving.
Yeah. Because you
But
started over again. Yeah.
so
Had two and a half
yes, I had
years
to
in
start
there.
over again. And at this time, I had a son that, I didn't get to see the birth of him,
Yeah.
but he was 3 years old when I finally got my third chance, my third strikes.
Now, let me ask you on this. When you have a child and you were sentenced, can they come visit you? Did you actually see him when you were incarcerated?
Yes, yes. So they
Okay,
do,
that's good.
and it's a struggle that a lot of people that are in prison they face is, do I want my child to see me here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one that I did face, and fortunately enough, he was young, still young, to where at this point he wouldn't even remember.
Yeah, I understand. Totally understand. And then later on, I don't know if you've already had that conversation, but I imagine
Yes,
it took some strength to
yes.
to tell
It
them.
took a lot of strength. Took a lot of strength to actually, you know, explain um, the past that I took.
Yeah. No,
But
I love that you're mentioning this because you could tell that your son really changed you just by the way you're talking, just by your voice. I can tell that um, him coming into the world made you see the world differently. Is that correct?
100%, 100%. So since then, as you've seen, my pattern from 19 to 23, it was every year or so, I found myself in trouble again. And since then, so again, it's 2009. I went in to do that last time, and I came home in 2012. My son was 3 years old, turning 3. And, since then he's changed. He's changed my whole outlook. He's changed everything that I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Yeah. It's amazing
So
how some people take kids as a blessing, like I did, and some people just don't. And
yeah,
it's unfortunate, definitely,
it
because
is. It is
they're
because
so
they are
special.
blessings.
They're very
They are
special.
blessings. Yes. So now at this point, it's, I have all of these opportunities in front of me now because of him, because like that saving grace of thinking, thinking first, right? Now,
Yeah.
before when I was thinking for myself, I didn't think at all. Now that I have to think for someone else, I take my time. I take a lot more into consideration when I'm making choices.
Yeah. And sometimes
So
I think it's sometimes the why has to be like the why to get better, the why to improve oneself does have to start with somebody that's close to you, or some organization or something that is outside of you to give you that push. Because it is powerful to have that leadership also, and it makes you feel important and needed also, which will make you become better because you want to improve, of course. Keep
absolutely.
that role to keep that role in the first place. uh,
Absolutely. And like I said, the opportunities that I have now are based on that. So I'll tell you the transition story.
okay, yeah, so yeah, how did you how's software is an interesting one.
All
Yeah.
right. So hospitality, again, before I went in the third time, I really, really did fall in love with the hospitality industry, with bartending in particular. Right.
Okay.
So
Well,
when I came home in,
let me ask you this.
2012,
Is it because with bartending, people come to you and ask you questions? I imagine, I've never been a bartender, but I imagine people come to you and ask you questions about their life.
they
At least
do.
that's what I would
They
think.
do. You
Yeah.
kind of play a therapist consultant role as a bartender, as you know.
Yeah. Which
But yeah, I loved that communication aspect because one thing about me is I've always been an introvert. Always been an introvert. And being behind the bar gave me that opportunity to step out of that shell.
yeah. And I think that's
So
a good thing to touch on very briefly here is I consider myself also an introvert just because, I am comfortable doing my own thing. However, I do like, talking to people. I do like going to events and things like that. I think that, just because you feel comfortable being by yourself doesn't mean you don't want to be a part of society. Doesn't mean
right,
that you don't want
right.
that human connection. I think the way I look at it now is you're just more comfortable in smaller groups and knowing the people around you better.
I agree.
Whereas, maybe an extrovert, I don't know, because I can't see myself being comfortable in a large crowd trying to entertain a whole bunch of people. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
imagine there's people that are totally cool with that, but I think it would stress me out. So
And
yeah.
it's tough. And there was a book called The Introverted Extrovert
Yeah.
that I heard about a while back. But yeah, it's, that balance that I was trying to figure out when I made the transition. So I was bartending, and again, it helped me get out of my shell, communicate with more people, and really feel comfortable in that role.
Yeah.
So what I did was start my own bartending company, or like freelance bartending,
So you taught
where
people.
I would show up to your wedding, to your bar mitzvah,
Okay, I get
engagement
it.
party,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. So you were one of those on-call ones that would come out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I was your own call bartender, and I started actually building my business around that called Spirited Consulting Company,
Yeah.
right? So, I would make customized drink menus and, all types of things like that, and help you with the decor, trying to be the bartender extraordinaire for the party.
Yeah. Well, you were
Yep.
passionate.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was actually my first business, right? So I built the business out with that, LLC'd up and everything, and actually had some contractors that worked with me.
Okay.
Then my transfer from that was actually working with a liquor company. So I was doing
Okay.
sales work, doing legwork for a liquor company, going door to door to restaurants, bars, nightclubs, things like that. And I actually built that into my business.
Okay. So
Where
like a sales rep, right? So you marketed
yes,
their
like an
brand.
independent
Okay.
sales rep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
And
if you
I
if
wasn't
you're
really
familiar,
familiar with this term until a gentleman named Chris Kaplan introduced me to it. Another one of our guests here. So yeah.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah, so I mean, if you're familiar with the liquor industry, there's thousands of brands out there.
yeah. And they're
Like,
looking, I guess, to get their brand more notice. So that's where they would look for
absolutely.
independent sales agents. And so is it like a commission, or do you get like a
Yes,
recurring, or is it recurring, or is it that
it
just really
is. It
depends on the
is.
company?
It is. So the
Okay.
way that I set it up, again, I had a brand already built out. So
Yeah.
Spirited Consulting Company was my brand. So I would approach liquor companies and say, hey, I'm a bartender working in Jacksonville, Florida. This is the North Florida market, not necessarily Miami,
Yeah.
but there's some interest, or I can build some interest for your liquor brand. How can we work out a deal?
Well,
Right.
that's
So I
smart.
would
Yeah.
send, I would send out a bunch of emails to liquor companies like that.
That's smart.
And
So you went and made this liquor company, going to all these events, and then as you marketed it out, had the subcontractors, had the liquor companies working with you, so you can make additional income from that as well. You started having to make a system um, to facilitate these other locations. Is that correct? And then,
yeah, so
yeah,
yeah, the transition there was as we were helping build these other liquor brands as
yeah,
independent sales reps, a lot of bartenders took interest in that. So locally, I had a lot of people ask, how can I do the same thing?
okay,
Right? They're like, how can I do that? I want to work with these liquor companies. Because I actually had landed a contract with a company they were up and coming, but they had hired a really well-known influencer, an
okay,
R&B artist, Trey Songz.
okay, cool, cool.
And like, again, a lot of people took interest in that. So I decided to build a course for myself. It was called Branding for Bartenders, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
that was my first leap into anything really digital. Like I was bartending and I was doing, basically door-to-door sales or B2B sales for these liquor companies. And then I came out with the course.
Yeah, and then in your
And then
course, you said that you were helping them with, I did hear a little bit about the rope, what is it called again? Bots? The bots where it automates?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So with branding for bartenders, again, the course was to help bartenders brand themselves, come up with logos, get more engagement in their social media, and kind of build their portfolio for liquor brands to actually take interest in them. So
Okay.
the
There you
first chatbot that I ever came across was from Johnny Walker, Walker whiskey, right?
are. That's cool.
And they had a chatbot in Messenger that told you how to make their recipes with their drinks.
Okay.
So I took a big interest in that because I'm like, wow, this is a messaging system in my industry that's teaching people how to make drinks. So I started using chatbots in my business to promote the course Branding for Bartenders.
Yeah.
So when the course actually started taking off, I realized the power of these chatbots, and I decided to actually build a business around chatbots. and there was Bold City Bots. So that's my current agency, Bold City Bots,
Bold,
where,
BOLD, bold.
yep, Bold City Bots,
Cool. Bold
where
City Bot.
we build chat bots for other companies and agencies. So
Cool.
yeah, that was the transition to software. So it didn't go from a straight and narrow line from selling drugs to software. We zigzagged a little bit, got drunk, took a few shots.
Yeah, it didn't come overnight, and you were always looking to improve, and you just felt well, you felt a different calling, and I think that's where a lot of people get stuck too. They feel like they're set on a path or an industry, and then years later they just don't feel the same connection, but they still stay with it because they put all that time and effort into it. And I think that's important to note here too. Is it's okay. In life, you grow and things change, and it's okay to make that change. You might lose a source of income. You might have to move. But at the end of the day, you'll be happier when you do make that shift, when you do make that change, because there's something else there that you might not know that you're better at, that you just enjoy more, that will take you to different places that you don't even know exist.
I
Would you
agree.
say, yeah, you did
I
have the
agree.
same feeling on that? Yeah.
Because none of these things were planned. Again, so from the beginning of my journey, which was if we start here at 18, none of that stuff was planned for me.
Yeah.
Again, even in a neighborhood that wasn't the best, I had a great upbringing. I had great family support that I didn't necessarily have to be where I was.
Yeah.
And the turns that I took, I think were necessary. They were eye-opening situations for me that made me change my life for the better, that made me as ambitious as I am now, because again, I've had those hard times, and being able to see like, hey, you can overcome these different things. It just gives me more passion.
And that's the story behind the message of hope, right? Struggle to success. Whatever struggle you are facing, may it be self-inflicted or not, there is a way out. You have to look at the silver
100%.
lining and the lessons that you've learned, because there's always a lesson there that you can build on. There's always somebody that needs encouragement, somebody that needs what you are skilled at. And even if you're not skilled at it and you just have a passion for something, like if you totally want to 360 something and be like, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to be a flight attendant or whatever it is,
Right.
just go for it. You can learn the skills as you go, and you'll get there. So yeah, so
Yeah,
you
that's
were
what
doing,
I love.
what's that?
That's what I love. That's what I love about business and entrepreneurship. It's so fluid. It's liquid. You can become, like Bruce Lee says, be like water.
Yeah, it is. It's very much, it's a lifestyle. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19, of various, successes and failures, ups and
Hmm.
downs. But it's a life, it's a lifestyle. And then when I hit a hurdle at one point in my life, which was a few years ago, um, I was asked that question. Well, are you going to go work for somebody, because, you need money, obviously. I'm like, yeah, I do. But in the way I looked at it, I can't. I came this far down this path. It really, when I thought about it and how friends and family and either even outside people that wasn't even a part of my life for many years asked me, so what are you going to do? Who are you going to, you want to work with me? You want to sell some sales with me? And I'm just like, I can't. It's one, I make a lot more than I could ever make hourly, especially being an
Right.
entrepreneur my whole life. I mean, I don't really have like a degree, right, that I can market off of. And two,
Right.
I really took it as death. I really did. Like every time I thought about it, I would get like anxiety and be like, I can't. I just can't. It's not in my DNA at this point. And
Right.
so it really is a lifestyle. when you decide to become a full-time entrepreneur and, own your time and be disciplined enough to make your own path. So,
Absolutely. And that's where, like you said, everyone has to start. And if you have that urge, if it's been, gnawing at you to start your own thing, you should really consider it.
yeah,
Because, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, they have a calling, they have a natural knack for entrepreneurship. But just because you don't doesn't mean it's not for you.
that's the truth. You can learn anything in this world. Yeah.
Yes, you can learn it. And because I mean, everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants better financial situation. And it's like, man, if most people that did go out and work for someone understood how free it was to actually work for themselves and
Yeah.
still be able to financially survive and
Yeah.
thrive. I mean, I of course, as an entrepreneur, I've never made as much money for another company. Like, no, who else is going to pay me what I'm going to pay myself?
Yeah, nobody, because nobody has your interest in the best interest from themselves, right? At the end of the day, they're looking out for their founders or their, family or whatever it might be. It's not a bad thing. I mean, there's plenty of people needed out there to work hourly if you're comfortable in an hourly position,
Absolutely.
just want to have a side gig, or not confident enough in your skills that you want to take that leap yet. But just know, if you have that calling, like Asmar says, definitely work toward it. Definitely go for it, because like, we only have one life, right? So we can't, like, if you make a mistake, it happens. There's more opportunity out there.
Right.
Go take the
So
risk. Go do
one
it.
thing I'll say is from, well, the title of our session was supposed to be from DOC to CEO,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
DOC CEO. Yeah.
what that was is Department of Corrections
Yeah.
to Chief Executive Officer, because that was the journey that I took. And one thing I want to say is, from the beginning, as a drug dealer, I've never made as much money as I did in my business, because every dollar that I made in the drug game was taken away from me in the time that I served and the fines that I paid to the court system, and all of the monetary and time that was tied to that. That takes away from anything that I could have ever earned. And I look at it now, not only just the monetary, but the value that I can bring in my business now, where I am integral in my community. I'm teaching my son how to be an entrepreneur, and all the time that I spent in my past life, an illegitimate businessman selling drugs, I've never made as much money there as I did in my business now. And the reason for it is because it is the money made there. You can't calculate it. Again, it was taken time and time again from the time that I've spent, repaying my debt to society, the time or the money that I've spent paying back to society, paying to the court systems and fines and things like that.
Yeah.
So when I look at legitimate business, realizing no matter what it is, I'll always come out ahead versus doing it the illegal way, doing it the wrong way. And that's one thing that, that has never shifted since I've got my third chance. I've done 3 strikes.
That's
let
good.
me look at you and tell you, I've had 3 strikes, Amina, and I've been blessed to say that I can come back.
So,
Still,
Asmar, you do the chat bots, right? What do you do? Some other service too?
yes. So, I mean, chatbots is the main service, but I do full funnel development,
Okay,
which
cool.
means do average Facebook ad creation, landing page developments. website development and reporting for agencies. More recently, we've been focused on e-commerce, specifically Amazon and Shopify development, because that's one industry that we see is recession proof, and
Amazon, yeah.
they're virus proof too.
Yeah, Amazon's been really good to me. I've been with Amazon since I think 2014. I started off with a small book company on Amazon selling used and new books. This was many years ago. Like I said, 2014, I think. I think I started in 2012 and then took it full time for 2014. And when I mean full time, I mean like 4 hours, not full time, but Yeah, it's full time. When you're an entrepreneur, you get a little giveaway and I don't know. When you're an entrepreneur, life and business merge together. I can't tell you how much I work on the podcast. I can't tell you how much time I put into reaching out to people to get them on the show and the marketing and stuff like that. I just don't consider it any different.
Yeah.
The same. Yeah.
I feel the same way. I mean, because I don't have a turn-off time. We're not clocking out at 5 o'clock. No. Not punching in at 9 o'clock. It's all together. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. It's a nice feeling because I don't feel like I have to do anything if I don't want to, and I don't have to ever feel confined to something if I don't feel aligned with it. Because it's really like, it's my time. And if I want it to grow, then I put more effort into it. If I don't want it to grow, then I don't put any effort into it. And
absolutely.
So it's really much coinciding with as life. And just bridging it all together. So, yeah. So your son, how old is he now, Ben?
So my son, he'll be 11 in December.
Okay. Yeah, mine's 12.
So he's 10 now.
Difference. And what's your son's name?
His name's Amir.
I like that, as Amir. You have such a cool name.
Asmar and Amir.
Amir. I love that. Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, and guess what? They both start with an A. And if your name starts with an A, you get special kudos from me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And do you have little ones?
I do. I have 3. Well, they're not little anymore. They're 15, 12, and 10. So
awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me and my girlfriend, we just got engaged last week.
I think I saw the picture of that. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I took my time. It was
sometimes you need
5 years. 5 years I took.
Good.
But she has a daughter that is 12 years old also.
Oh, great. Oh, that's going to be wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be wonderful. So is that where you're moving now to? You're moving on to a new place that you guys can all share?
Yes. Well, we're moving into a house. We'll be out by the fall, by school time.
Good. That's wonderful. I'm so excited for you. You're a true struggle to success story right here. True.
Absolutely.
True.
And even more with that, it's the freedom to actually enjoy my family because I don't have to go work for someone. Yeah. I don't have to ask for a vacation. I don't have to ask for time off, sick time, or anything like that. And that's the beauty of it for me.
Yeah. And like you can work out of your house too, which has always been a big thing for me since my kids have all been homeschooled. So I basically been building this lifestyle for 15 years. So it took me a while, but I'm here. I'm staying here because I don't know anything else.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, look, we're considering homeschool. We're considering homeschool this year.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a change. And I like to say my first child, she went through some ups and downs and, I wasn't the best for a parent, and she forgives me and but
that's okay.
Because I think a lot of the outside pressure comes from the school and comes from society in America in general, because we are basically programmed that our kids have to start school at age like 3 to 5, and then full time at by the time 6, 7 roll around, and that means like potty training,
Mhm.
starting to read, starting to write, and that is so not the way kids learn. Since I've brought up all 3 of my kids through homeschooling environments, everybody learns at different pace. And I want to tell everybody out here, if your child is not reading or potty trained, still wetting the bed even at ages 8, 9, 10, it's okay. Breathe. Don't be negative to your children, please.
Right.
It's okay. They're not going through something. You don't need to take them to a doctor to get them checked out. It's just going to bring them more emotional, like not pain, I wouldn't say, but they're going to end up questioning it later on. And I just know this because the people that do come on here and we do talk about, early childhood memories. But it is a pressure that's unneeded. In a lot of other places in the world, kids don't start school till age 9. So yeah, and then they start reading and writing and
Wow.
understanding their body and stuff. So Asmar, for you, if you guys start homeschooling, amazing. If you need any advice on, what programs and things that I use currently, everything's online now. So I'm so grateful because we started off
Yes.
with books. So yeah. So yeah, definitely. Just let me know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you for coming on. Can you tell everybody where they can connect with you and your business?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me again. My first name, last name is Asmar Gary. You can find me Facebook there. Instagram, it is Bold City Bots.
Okay.
Facebook, Bold City Bots. Twitter, Bold City Bots. And boldcitybots.com.
Okay,
So
but
that's
you have
BOLD.
your name too as a .com, right?
I do not. So I don't have my
Okay.
.com.
Just a Facebook. Okay.
Right. Yeah, so it's just my personal Facebook and everything else is business assets.
Okay.
So boldcitybots.com and Instagram, Twitter, and what else do I have? LinkedIn. Let's talk about LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'll put it on the description too, so you guys can get the direct link to connect with Asmar here. So Asmar's been amazing, sharing his amazing story from struggle to success in this series, Message of Hope. I'm totally grateful that he came on and he shared his journey from the DOC, the Department of Corrections, to CEO, and that is so going on your titles.
Yes. Please.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in this program, definitely check out all our other amazing guests that come on here every single day by going to the One Up podcast station. To get all 8 broadcast stations, you can go to anchor.fm/oneup. That's anchor.fm/oneup. And you see the replay on the YouTube. You can do that too. You can go to amina.media to get to the YouTube channel. That's amina.media. Thank you guys all that are watching the live currently behind the scenes and all your patience today. And thank you, Asmar. Is there any final words you'd like to say before we depart today?
Just to say that before you succeed, you must struggle. So struggle to success, it's a must. It's necessary.
I love that. Good one. Good one. And you have to be brave because there's going to be a lot of hurdles, but just stick it out and you'll make it. Don't worry. You'll make it. Thank you again, Asmar, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care and have a lovely move. Don't stress out too much. I imagine it's going to be.
Thank you. No, we got a wedding to plan. That's
right.
Thank you, Amina.
Yes. I can't wait to see the pictures. Awesome. All right. Take care. Bye.